In today's story, we dive deep into the tumultuous and emotional journey of John and Sarah in Healing from Heartache, a husband's journey through betrayal and a cheating wife's path to redemption. This poignant tale begins with John, a devoted husband reflecting on 25 years of marriage, only to have his world shattered by a heartbreaking revelation. Through the pain of betrayal and the challenging path of forgiveness, John finds himself in Ecuador, seeking peace and healing. Join us as we explore the complexities of love, trust, and the power of second chances in this compelling narrative of redemption and resilience. Sitting at his desk in the dimly lit office, John couldn't help but let his mind drift back to the memories of the past 25 years. The echo of the office phone and the distant chatter of his colleagues faded into the background as he reminisced about the life he had built with Sarah. Their marriage had its fair share of ups and downs, but the fond memories, especially of their honeymoon, always brought a warm smile to his face. It was a crisp summer morning in 1994 when John and Sarah exchanged their vows in front of their closest friends and family. The church was filled with the sweet scent of roses, and the air was buzzing with the joy and excitement of their union. They had saved diligently for a perfect honeymoon, deciding on Hawaii, a paradise they both dreamed of visiting. The anticipation of the trip added an extra layer of excitement to their wedding day. The very next morning, with their bags packed and hearts full of dreams, they boarded a flight to Honolulu. The moment they landed, it felt as if they had stepped into another world. The balmy Hawaiian breeze, the lush green palm trees swaying gently, and the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore welcomed them into their honeymoon haven. Their first destination was Waikiki Beach, a place John had read about countless times. The reality exceeded every expectation. The soft, golden sand beneath their feet and the crystal-clear turquoise water stretching out as far as the eye could see created a picturesque setting. They spent their days lounging on the beach, hand in hand, soaking up the sun, and their nights dining under the starlit sky, indulging in the freshest seafood and exotic tropical fruits. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, they found themselves at a quaint little beachside restaurant. The candlelight flickered softly, casting a warm glow on Sarah's face. John reached across the table, took her hand, and gazed into her eyes. "This place is magical, isn't it?" he said, his voice filled with awe. Sarah smiled, her eyes twinkling with the reflection of the candlelight. "It really is. I feel like we are in our own little paradise," she replied, squeezing his hand gently. The following days were filled with adventure. They explored the lush jungles of Kailua, hiking through dense foliage to discover hidden waterfalls that seemed like nature's secret treasures. The roar of the water as it cascaded down the rocks was a soothing symphony, and the cool mist that enveloped them felt refreshing against the heat of the day. Standing in awe of the breathtaking landscapes around them, John felt a profound connection to Sarah and the world they were discovering together. Their cliffside retreat offered views that seemed to stretch into infinity. Each evening, they would sit on the balcony, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the sky transform into a vibrant tapestry as the sun set. The deep, warm colors of the sky mirrored the depth of their love, a love that had grown and strengthened over the years. One of John's most cherished memories was a night when they decided to have a candlelit dinner on the beach. The staff at the resort had set up a private table for them, complete with a canopy of stars overhead. The gentle sound of the waves provided the perfect background music as they enjoyed a feast of fresh seafood and local delicacies. The true magic of the evening, however, was the love that sparkled in Sarah's eyes as she looked at him. In that moment, John realized that Hawaii wasn't just a vacation spot. It had become a cornerstone of their love story, filled with precious moments and dreams. Reflecting on their honeymoon, John realized how much it had deepened their bond and rekindled their love. Those memories brought immense joy and gratitude, even after 25 years. The sound of his secretary's voice snapped him back to reality. "John, what has got you in such a good mood? Did you win the lottery?" she teased, noticing the serene smile on his face. He laughed, realizing he had been unusually cheerful lately. "No lottery, Linda," he replied, still smiling. "I've just been thinking about how wonderful things have been with Sarah recently. It's like we're on a second honeymoon." Linda raised an eyebrow, intrigued. That sounds lovely. It's great to hear that things are going so well after all these years. John nodded, his mind drifting back to the present. He explained how Sarah had been particularly loving and attentive lately, making him feel cherished all over again. It felt like they had rediscovered the spark that had brought them together in the first place. I don't want this newfound happiness to fade, he admitted, feeling like a smitten teenager once more. Although their marriage had always been solid, the excitement had sometimes turned into routine. Yet recently, Sarah had been especially affectionate, reigniting parts of their relationship that had been dormant for years. John never suspected there was any motive beyond rekindling their love. He decided to surprise her with a special evening, leaving work early to pick up 24 roses, her favorite wine, and some chocolate-covered strawberries. Tonight, he planned to show her just how much he appreciated her and surprise her with a 7-night cruise to celebrate their enduring love. Entering the house through the garage, he climbed the kitchen steps and found their daughter Jessica sitting at the table instead of Sarah. He kissed her forehead and asked, "Hey sweetheart, where's your mom?" Jessica looked up, her face a mix of anxiety and determination. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling slightly. John frowned, sensing something was wrong. "What's going on, Jess? Is everything okay?" Jessica took a deep breath and began to explain. "Mom has been feeling like she needs something more than what she has now. She loves you, Dad, but she feels like she's missing out on something." John's heart sank. "What do you mean? Is she unhappy?" Jessica nodded slowly. "She thinks that after 25 years of marriage, she deserves to experience something different, at least once. She's been seeing someone else, Dad." The words hit John like a ton of bricks. He stared at Jessica, struggling to process what she had just said. "Seeing someone else? Who?" Jessica hesitated before answering. "His name is Henry. He's a friend's father. They met a few months ago." John's anger flared. "And you knew about this? You encouraged her?" Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "Dad, please understand. She didn't want to hurt you. She thought that if she showed you how much she loves you during these past few weeks, you wouldn't be as hurt when you found out." John stood up, his body trembling with rage. "So, all of this affection, all of this love, it was just to ease her guilt?" Jessica sobbed. "She thought you would understand. It's just one night, Dad. She'll be back tomorrow." John couldn't believe what he was hearing. His world was falling apart, and he felt utterly betrayed by the two people he loved the most. "Where is she now?" Jessica whispered. "She's with him. They went to a restaurant and then, they planned to spend the night together." John's vision blurred with tears of anger and heartbreak. He turned away from Jessica, unable to look at her. "Get out," he said through gritted teeth. "Dad, please. Get out," he roared, the sound echoing through the house. Jessica fled from the room, leaving John alone with his thoughts. He sank to the floor, the weight of the betrayal crushing him. He sat there for what felt like hours, his mind a whirlwind of pain and confusion. Finally, he stood up, his resolve hardening. He knew what he had to do. With a sense of grim determination, he gathered all of Sarah's belongings and moved them to the studio. Every piece of clothing, every piece of jewelry, every cherished memory, he piled them all up. As the sun began to rise, John took a deep breath and doused the pile with gasoline. With one final look at the life he was about to leave behind, he struck a match and set it all ablaze. The flames roared to life, consuming everything in their path. John watched as the fire destroyed everything he had once held dear. He turned away, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. It was time to start anew, to find a life where he could be respected and cherished. With nothing left to tie him to his old life, John packed his bags and left for Ecuador, hoping to find peace and healing in a place far away from the pain of his past. As he boarded the plane, he vowed never to let anyone disrespect or betray him again. It was a harsh lesson learned, but it was one that would shape the rest of his life. As John settled into his seat on the plane to Ecuador, his mind was still reeling from the events of the past 24 hours. He closed his eyes, trying to shut out the image of Sarah and the betrayal that had shattered his world. The hum of the plane's engines provided a strange comfort, a reminder that he was leaving it all behind. The flight to Ecuador was long, giving John plenty of time to reflect on his life and his future. He thought about the good times with Sarah, the love they had shared, and the dreams they had built together. Despite everything, he couldn't deny that a part of him still loved her. But that part was buried under layers of anger, hurt, and betrayal. When the plane landed in Quito, the capital of Ecuador, John felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. He was in a new country, far from the life he once knew, and the uncertainty of his future loomed large. He had chosen Ecuador for its beauty and tranquility, hoping it would provide the peace he desperately needed. John rented a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. It was modest but comfortable, with a view of the Andean mountains in the distance. He spent his first few days exploring the city, immersing himself in the vibrant culture and the friendly local community. It was a welcome distraction from the turmoil of his thoughts. One evening, as he sat on the balcony of his apartment, watching the sun set behind the mountains, John received a call from an old friend, Mike. Mike had been a close confidant for many years, and John felt a wave of comfort as he heard his friend's familiar voice. "John, how are you holding up?" Mike asked, concern evident in his tone. John sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I'm doing okay, I guess. It's been tough, but I'm trying to move on." Mike paused before responding, "I can't believe Sarah did this to you. You two always seemed so happy." "Yeah, well, people change," John replied bitterly. "I'm trying not to dwell on it. I've started a new life here in Ecuador, and it's beautiful. The people are kind, and the scenery is breathtaking." "That's good to hear, man. Just remember, if you ever need to talk or if you decide to come back, I'm here for you," Mike said reassuringly. "Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it," John said, feeling a flicker of gratitude amidst his turmoil. As the days turned into weeks, John found solace in the simple pleasures of his new life. He spent his mornings hiking through the lush green trails of the Andes, finding peace in the natural beauty that surrounded him. The exercise was not only good for his body but also helped clear his mind. In the afternoons, he would visit local markets, mingling with the vendors and learning about the rich history and culture of Ecuador. He even picked up some Spanish, enjoying the challenge of mastering a new language. The locals appreciated his efforts and often invited him to join their family gatherings and community events. Despite his efforts to rebuild his life, John couldn't completely escape the memories of Sarah. Every now and then, he would catch himself thinking about her, wondering if she regretted her actions. But he quickly pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the present and the future he was trying to create. One day, as John was exploring a small village on the outskirts of Quito, he stumbled upon a quaint art gallery. The vibrant paintings and sculptures drew him in, reminding him of Sarah's love for art. He hesitated at the entrance, debating whether to go in. The gallery seemed to beckon him, a strange pull that he couldn't resist. Inside, he was greeted by a cheerful woman named Maria. She welcomed him warmly and gave him a tour of the gallery, explaining the stories behind each piece of art. John found himself captivated by the beauty and creativity on display, feeling a sense of connection to the artists who had poured their hearts into their work. As he wandered through the gallery, one painting caught his eye. It was a stunning landscape of the Andes at sunset, the colors vivid and breathtaking. John felt a pang of nostalgia, reminded of the sunsets he had watched with Sarah. But this time, the memory wasn't as painful. Instead, it felt like a gentle reminder of the love they had once shared. Maria noticed his interest in the painting and approached him. "That piece is one of my favorites," she said with a smile. "It was painted by a local artist who draws inspiration from the beauty of our country." "It's incredible," John replied, still mesmerized by the artwork. "It reminds me of the sunsets I've seen here. They always take my breath away." Maria nodded, her smile widening. "Sunsets have a way of touching our hearts, don't they? They remind us of the beauty in the world, even when things seem dark." John found comfort in her words. He realized that he had been so focused on the pain of the past that he had forgotten to appreciate the beauty around him. The sunsets, the mountains, the kind people he had met, they were all reminders that life could still be beautiful. As he left the gallery, John felt a sense of renewal. He decided to buy the painting, seeing it as a symbol of his new beginning. It would hang in his apartment, a daily reminder of the beauty and hope that still existed in the world. That evening, John sat on his balcony, watching another stunning sunset. The painting was propped up beside him, its colors glowing in the fading light. For the first time in months, he felt a glimmer of hope. He realized that while the past had shaped him, it didn't have to define his future. John took a deep breath, letting the tranquility of the moment wash over him. He knew that healing would take time, but he was ready to embrace the journey. He had found a new home in Ecuador, a place where he could rebuild his life and find peace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, John whispered to himself, "Here's to new beginnings." He raised his glass of wine in a silent toast, feeling a sense of closure and anticipation for the future. Little did he know, this new chapter would bring unexpected surprises and opportunities for growth. But for now, John was content to take it one day at a time, finding joy in the simple pleasures and the beauty of the world around him. Back in the United States, Sarah was grappling with the aftermath of her impulsive decision. The night she spent with Henry had been a whirlwind of emotions, a blend of excitement, guilt, and regret. As she lay in the hotel room next to him, the reality of her actions hit her like a tidal wave. She felt a deep sense of betrayal, not only towards John but also towards herself. Sarah knew she had to return home and face the consequences of her actions. The morning after her night with Henry, she dressed quietly, trying not to wake him. Her mind was a storm of thoughts, each one more distressing than the last. She had betrayed the man she had loved for 25 years, and now she had to confront that betrayal head-on. When she arrived home, the house was eerily quiet. She noticed that John's car was gone, which filled her with both relief and dread. She took a deep breath and walked inside, her heart pounding in her chest. She found Jessica in the living room, sitting on the couch with a look of anxiety on her face. "Mom, we need to talk," Jessica said softly, her voice trembling. Sarah nodded, her throat tight with emotion. She sat down next to Jessica, trying to prepare herself for what was to come. "I know, Jessica. I know I made a mistake." Jessica's eyes filled with tears as she looked at her mother. "Mom, Dad knows. I told him everything." Sarah felt a wave of panic wash over her. "You told him? How did he react?" "He was furious," Jessica replied, her voice breaking. "He told me to leave and that he never wants to see me again." "He said the same about you." Sarah's heart shattered at the words. She had hoped that John would be angry, but she never expected this level of devastation. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. "What have I done? How could I have been so selfish?" Jessica put her arms around her mother, trying to offer some comfort. "Mom, I thought I was helping you. I thought that maybe this would make you realize what you have with Dad. But I never imagined it would turn out like this." Sarah looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "I need to find him. I need to make this right." Jessica nodded, wiping away her own tears. "He left last night. I don't know where he went, but we need to try and reach him. Maybe he's gone to stay with a friend or checked into a hotel." Sarah stood up, a sense of determination replacing her despair. "I'll call Mike. He's always been close to John. Maybe he knows where he is." As Sarah picked up the phone to call Mike, she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over her. She dialed the number with shaking hands, praying that John was safe and that she could somehow fix the mess she had created. Meanwhile, John was settling into his new routine in Ecuador. He had found a sense of peace and solace in his new surroundings, but the memories of his past life still haunted him. Every so often, he would check his phone, expecting to see messages from Sarah or Jessica, but he had blocked their numbers, leaving him in a self-imposed isolation. One evening, as he was enjoying a quiet dinner at a local restaurant, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from Mike. John hesitated for a moment before opening it, bracing himself for whatever news it might contain. "John, I hope you're doing okay. Sarah called me today, frantic and desperate to find you. She knows she made a huge mistake and wants to make things right. I know you're hurt and angry, but maybe it would help to hear her out. At least let her explain herself. Take care, Mike." John stared at the email, his mind racing. A part of him wanted to ignore it and continue with his new life, but another part of him felt a pang of curiosity and the faintest hint of hope. He knew he couldn't stay in limbo forever, he needed closure. That night, John couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned, his thoughts a chaotic mess. He thought about the life he had left behind, the love he still felt for Sarah despite everything, and the possibility of forgiveness. Could he ever forgive her? Did he even want to? The next morning, John made a decision. He would hear Sarah out, if only to get the closure he needed. He replied to Mike's email, asking him to set up a video call with Sarah. It was time to face the past, no matter how painful it might be. Back in the United States, Sarah was relieved to hear from Mike that John was willing to talk. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to do whatever it took to make things right. She prepared herself for the call, her heart heavy with regret and hope. When the time for the call came, Sarah sat nervously in front of her computer. She had written down everything she wanted to say, but when John's face appeared on the screen, all her rehearsed words flew out the window. He looked tired, and the pain in his eyes was evident. "Hi, John," Sarah said softly, her voice trembling. "Sarah," John replied, his tone cold but controlled. "Mike said you wanted to talk. So, talk." Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "John, I am so sorry for what I did. I don't have any excuse that can justify my actions. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt you in the worst possible way. I know saying sorry isn't enough, but I need you to know that I regret everything." John listened silently, his expression unreadable. "Why, Sarah, why did you do it?" Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she struggled to find the right words. "I felt like we were losing the spark, that we were just going through the motions. I thought that maybe experiencing something different would help me appreciate what we have. But I was wrong, so wrong. I lost sight of what truly matters." John's anger flared up, but he kept his voice steady. "And you thought sleeping with another man would fix that? You thought betraying our marriage was the solution?" Sarah shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, I didn't think. I just acted on impulse. I was foolish and reckless. But I love you, John. I never stopped loving you. I want to make things right, if you'll let me." John took a deep breath, his emotions swirling inside him. "Sarah, I don't know if I can ever forgive you. What you did shattered my trust and broke my heart. But I appreciate your honesty. I need time to think, to process everything." Sarah nodded, her heart breaking at the distance in his voice. "I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, waiting, hoping that we can find a way to move forward." As the call ended, John felt a mix of relief and sadness. He had finally faced Sarah, heard her side of the story, and now he needed to decide what came next. He knew that healing would take time, and forgiveness, if it ever came, would not be easy. In the days that followed, John immersed himself in his new life, trying to find peace and clarity. He spent his mornings exploring the vibrant markets of Quito, savoring the rich flavors of local cuisine and the warmth of the people. The afternoons were filled with hikes through the Andean mountains, where the breathtaking beauty of nature provided a sense of solace. John also found comfort in his new hobby of photography. Capturing the stunning landscapes and the daily lives of the locals helped him see the world through a different lens, one that was filled with possibilities and hope. He even started sharing his photos on social media, connecting with a community of fellow travelers and photographers who appreciated his work. One evening, as John was editing his photos, he received a message from Jessica. He hesitated before opening it, unsure of what to expect. But his curiosity got the better of him. "Dad, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I'm so sorry for what I did. I thought I was helping Mom, but I realize now that I only made things worse. I was wrong, and I regret it every day. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday. Love, Jessica." John read the message several times, his emotions a mix of anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope. He didn't reply immediately, needing time to process his feelings. But the message stayed with him, a reminder that healing was a journey, not a destination. As the weeks turned into months, John began to find a sense of balance in his new life. He was slowly letting go of the anger and bitterness, replacing them with acceptance and a willingness to move forward. He knew that forgiveness, if it ever came, would take time, but he was open to the possibility. One morning, as he watched the sunrise over the Andean mountains, John felt a sense of peace that had eluded him for so long. He realized that while the past had shaped him, it didn't have to define his future. He had the power to create a new chapter, one filled with hope, love, and forgiveness. With a deep breath, John decided to reach out to Sarah and Jessica. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he was willing to take the first step towards healing and reconciliation. It was time to let go of the past and embrace the possibilities of the future. He picked up his phone and typed out a message, his heart lightening with each word. Sarah, Jessica, I've been thinking a lot about everything that has happened. While I'm still hurt and trying to process it all, I believe that holding on to anger and resentment will only keep us trapped in the past. I want to try and move forward, to find a way to heal. Let's take it one step at a time. John. As he hit send, John felt a sense of release. It was a small step, but it was a step towards healing and forgiveness. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it with an open heart and a renewed sense of hope. John's message to Sarah and Jessica marked the beginning of a tentative reconciliation. While the wounds were still fresh and the pain of betrayal lingered, John was determined to move forward. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face the challenge with an open heart. A few days after sending the message, John received a reply from Sarah. Her words were filled with gratitude and hope, but also a deep understanding of the pain she had caused. John, thank you for reaching out. I can't express how much it means to me that you're willing to take this step. I know I have a lot to make up for, and I am committed to doing whatever it takes to rebuild your trust. Please let me know when you're ready to talk more. With love, Sarah. Reading her response, John felt a mixture of emotions. He knew that their journey towards healing would be long and difficult, but Sarah's willingness to take responsibility for her actions gave him a glimmer of hope. John also received a heartfelt message from Jessica, expressing her deep remorse and her desire to mend their relationship. Dad, your message meant the world to me. I know I can't undo the hurt I've caused, but I want to do everything I can to make it right. I'm here for you, and I hope we can find a way to move forward together. Love, Jessica. With both Sarah and Jessica reaching out, John felt a renewed sense of determination. He decided to start by having a conversation with Jessica. She was his daughter, and despite the pain she had caused, he couldn't deny the bond they shared. They arranged a video call, and as John saw Jessica's face on the screen, he was struck by how much she had grown. She looked both older and wiser, the weight of their recent experiences etched into her features. Dad, Jessica began, her voice trembling. I want to start by saying how sorry I am. I thought I was helping Mom, but I was wrong. I never wanted to hurt you. John nodded, his expression softening. I know, Jess. I believe you thought you were doing the right thing. But it hurt. It hurt a lot. Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes. I wish I could take it all back. I was so blinded by trying to make things better for Mom that I didn't see the damage it would cause. We can't change the past, John said gently. But we can learn from it. I want us to move forward, to find a way to heal together. Jessica nodded, wiping away her tears. I want that too, Dad. I miss you so much. John smiled, feeling a sense of relief. I miss you too, Jess. Let's take it one step at a time, okay? Their conversation continued, touching on lighter topics and shared memories. It was a small step, but it felt like a significant one. For the first time in months, John felt a sense of connection with his daughter, and it gave him hope for the future. Next, John decided to reach out to Sarah. They arranged another video call, and as he saw her face appear on the screen, he felt a rush of conflicting emotions. There was still anger and hurt, but also a deep-seated love that refused to fade away. John, Sarah began, her voice breaking. Thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm so grateful. John took a deep breath. Sarah, what you did hurt me more than anything I've ever experienced. But I want to understand why. I want to know if there's a way we can move past this. Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. I was selfish and foolish. I let my insecurities and fears take over, and I made a terrible mistake. But I love you, John. I've always loved you. Love isn't enough on its own, John replied, his voice steady. We need trust, honesty, and commitment. Are you willing to work on that? Yes, Sarah said without hesitation. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I want to rebuild our marriage and make it stronger than ever. John felt a flicker of hope. Then let's start with honesty. Tell me everything. I need to hear it from you. Sarah took a deep breath and began to recount the events that had led to her affair with Henry. She spoke about her feelings of loneliness and inadequacy, her misguided attempt to find excitement outside their marriage, and the overwhelming guilt she felt afterward. Listening to her, John felt a mix of anger and empathy. He could see how Sarah had gotten lost in her own fears and insecurities, but it didn't excuse her actions. However, her willingness to be open and honest was a crucial first step in their journey toward healing. Thank you for being honest, John said when she finished. It helps to hear your side, even though it hurts. Sarah nodded, her eyes filled with remorse. I know it won't be easy, but I promise to do everything I can to make things right. They continued to talk, setting small, achievable goals for their relationship. They agreed to have regular conversations, both in person and via video calls, to rebuild their connection. John also suggested couples therapy, and Sarah readily agreed. As the weeks passed, John and Sarah worked diligently on their relationship. They faced many challenges and difficult conversations, but each step brought them closer together. John's new life in Ecuador provided a backdrop for reflection and growth, and he found that the beauty and tranquility of the country helped him heal. Jessica also played a crucial role in their reconciliation. She supported both her parents, encouraging open communication and honesty. She visited John in Ecuador, spending quality time with him and exploring the country together. These visits helped mend their relationship, bringing back the warmth and closeness they had once shared. One day, during a particularly heartfelt conversation, Sarah suggested that she and Jessica visit John together. She believed that spending time together as a family, even if just for a short while, would help solidify their progress. John hesitated at first, still wary of the pain he had endured. But he realized that he needed to face his fears and embrace the possibility of healing. He agreed, and they made plans for Sarah and Jessica to visit him in Ecuador. The day of their arrival was filled with anticipation and nervous energy. John waited at the airport, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. When he saw Sarah and Jessica walk through the arrivals gate, he felt a surge of emotions. There they were, the two people who had hurt him the most, but who also meant the world to him. As they hugged, John felt a sense of relief wash over him. It was a tentative step, but it was a step toward healing. They spent the next few weeks exploring Ecuador together, visiting local markets, hiking through the Andes, and sharing meals filled with laughter and conversation. During one of their hikes, as they stood on a mountain peak overlooking a breathtaking valley, John turned to Sarah and Jessica. Thank you for coming here. It means a lot to me. Sarah smiled, her eyes filled with tears. Thank you for giving us this chance, John. I know it's not easy, but I'm so grateful. Jessica nodded, her expression earnest. We're a family, Dad. We'll get through this together. As they stood there, surrounded by the beauty of Ecuador, John felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. He realized that while their journey was far from over, they were on the right path. They were learning to trust again, to communicate, and to love. The road to healing was long and winding, but John was ready to walk it with Sarah and Jessica by his side. He knew there would be challenges and setbacks, but he was committed to making it work. They had a chance to rebuild their family, and that was worth fighting for. As the sun set behind the mountains, casting a golden glow over the valley, John felt a renewed sense of hope. He had faced the darkest moments of his life and come out stronger. Now, he was ready to embrace the future, one step at a time, with the people he loved. With Sarah and Jessica by his side, John knew that anything was possible. They had a chance to create a new chapter in their lives, one filled with love, forgiveness, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And for the first time in a long time, John felt truly at peace. Months passed since Sarah and Jessica's visit to Ecuador. The time they spent together was transformative, but it was only the beginning of their journey. John returned to his routine, but this time with a lighter heart. He continued to explore Ecuador, deepening his love for the country's culture and landscapes. He also stayed in regular contact with Sarah and Jessica, their conversations becoming more frequent and meaningful. John decided it was time to take the next step in their healing process. He invited Sarah and Jessica to join him in Ecuador for an extended stay. They agreed, and the anticipation of their arrival brought both excitement and anxiety. When Sarah and Jessica arrived, they rented a small house near John's apartment. This arrangement allowed them to be close without overwhelming each other. They spent their days exploring together and their evenings discussing their progress and feelings. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, John brought up a topic that had been on his mind. "We've made a lot of progress," John began, his voice steady. "But I think it might be time to address the elephant in the room. Therapy." Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking the same. We've come a long way, but professional help could guide us through the tougher parts." Jessica agreed, adding, "I think it's a great idea. We all need to understand our feelings better and learn how to communicate more effectively." They found a local therapist who spoke English and began their sessions. The therapy sessions were intense and emotional, uncovering layers of pain, guilt, and misunderstandings. John struggled with his feelings of betrayal, while Sarah confronted her reasons for straying and Jessica dealt with her role in the situation. During one particularly challenging session, the therapist asked them to share their deepest fears and hopes for the future. John took a deep breath and spoke first. "My biggest fear is that I'll never fully trust again. But I hope that through this process, I can learn to forgive and rebuild our relationship stronger than before." Sarah wiped away tears as she spoke. "I fear that I've caused irreparable damage and that I'll never be able to make up for it. But I hope that we can heal together and find a way to move forward with love and understanding." Jessica's voice trembled as she shared her thoughts. "I'm afraid that I've lost your trust and that our family will never be the same. But I hope that we can learn from this and become even closer, knowing that we've overcome something so difficult together." The therapy sessions were exhausting, but they also brought a sense of relief and clarity. They began to understand each other's perspectives better and found ways to communicate more openly and honestly. Outside of therapy, they continued to explore Ecuador together. They visited the Amazon rainforest, marveled at the unique wildlife, and shared stories around campfires. These adventures helped them bond and create new, positive memories. One evening, as they sat by a river, John shared a thought that had been on his mind. "I've been thinking about moving back to the States. Not necessarily to the same town, but somewhere we can all start fresh together. What do you think?" Sarah looked at him, hope shining in her eyes. "I think that could be a great idea. We've grown a lot here, but starting fresh together might be what we need." Jessica nodded enthusiastically. "I would love that. Being together, supporting each other, and building a new life sounds perfect." They spent the next few weeks planning their move. They decided on a small town in the Pacific Northwest, known for its natural beauty and friendly community. It felt like the perfect place to start anew. The move back to the States was filled with mixed emotions. They were leaving behind the place that had helped them heal, but they were also excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. They found a cozy house with enough space for all of them and settled in, ready to begin the next chapter of their lives. Their new town welcomed them with open arms. They quickly became part of the community, making friends and finding new activities to enjoy together. John started a photography business, capturing the stunning landscapes and moments of everyday life. Sarah found a job at a local art gallery, reconnecting with her passion for art. Jessica enrolled in a nearby college, pursuing a degree in psychology to better understand herself and others. Life wasn't perfect, but they faced challenges together, supporting each other through the tough times. Their bond grew stronger as they continued to work on their relationships, both individually and as a family. One sunny afternoon, as they hiked through a nearby forest, John paused to take in the beauty around him. He turned to Sarah and Jessica, a smile spreading across his face. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you too." Sarah hugged him tightly, tears of joy in her eyes. "We're a team, John. We've faced the worst and come out stronger." Jessica joined the hug, adding, "I love you both so much. Thank you for giving us this chance." As they stood there, embraced by the beauty of nature and the love they had for each other, John felt a sense of peace and fulfillment he hadn't felt in years. They had faced their darkest moments and emerged stronger, united by their love and determination. Their journey was far from over, but they knew that together, they could overcome any obstacle. They had built a new life, filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future. And as they walked hand in hand through the forest, they knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Part 6. Building a New Future. The next few months were a time of growth and discovery for John, Sarah, and Jessica. They settled into their new home, building a life filled with love, trust, and shared experiences. Their journey towards healing continued, but they were no longer walking it alone. They had each other, and that made all the difference. John's photography business flourished. He captured the stunning beauty of their new home, sharing his work with the local community and online. His photos gained recognition, and he found joy in his art once again. It was a creative outlet that allowed him to express his feelings and connect with others. Sarah's job at the art gallery reignited her passion for art. She began creating again, her pieces reflecting the journey she had been on. Her work was well received, and she found a supportive community of artists who appreciated her talent and story. Jessica thrived in college, her studies in psychology helping her understand herself and her family better. She made new friends and found a sense of purpose in her education. Her relationship with John and Sarah grew stronger, built on the foundation of honesty and open communication they had worked so hard to establish. As a family, they continued their therapy sessions, finding new ways to support each other and grow together. They faced challenges head-on, knowing that their love and determination would see them through. One evening, as they sat around a bonfire in their backyard, John reflected on their journey. The warmth of the fire and the sound of laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the dark times they had faced. "I'm proud of us," John said, his voice filled with emotion. "We've been through so much, but we've come out stronger. I wouldn't trade this journey for anything." Sarah squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with love. "We've built something beautiful together, John. Thank you for giving us this chance." Jessica nodded, her smile radiant. "We have a future filled with love and possibilities. I'm excited to see where it takes us." As they sat there, surrounded by the love and warmth of their family, John felt a deep sense of gratitude. Their journey had been difficult, but it had also been transformative. They had faced their fears, embraced their vulnerabilities, and found a way to heal. They knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but they were ready to face them together. They had built a foundation of trust, love, and resilience that would see them through whatever came next. And as the stars twinkled above, John felt a sense of peace and fulfillment that he hadn't felt in years. They had created a new future, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And he knew that with Sarah and Jessica by his side, anything was possible. Their story was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next. Together, they would continue to grow, heal, and build a life filled with love and happiness. And as they embraced the future, they knew that they had found something truly special, a family united by love and strengthened by their journey. As we reach the end of this emotional journey, healing from heartache, a husband's journey through betrayal and a cheating wife's path to redemption, we see John, Sarah, and Jessica emerging stronger than ever. Their story reminds us that even in the face of deep betrayal and heartache, there is always a path to healing and renewal. By embracing honesty, forgiveness, and the power of love, they were able to rebuild their lives and create a future filled with hope and possibilities. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul.